Hello, coders. Hello. Let me just turn that down a little bit. Just turn that down a wee bit. There we go. Hello, coders. Good afternoon. It's Sunday. It's 14:35 GMT. I hope everybody's doing well. Today we are going to be working on something totally different compared to what we've been doing in the previous couple of streams. We will be picking it up at the end of the stream, mind. Usually what we do is we work on the howtocodewell.net new website, which is a bunch of microservices that I've been developing. We're going to be playing with that a little bit at the end of the stream, but there's something a little bit far more important that I want to talk about and demonstrate, and that is that I have built the Docker image for the folding at home tool that you can use. We've got a folding at home team for How to Code Well. I will put all of this information in the chat as we go through. I'll also be talking about what folding at home is and the good things that they're doing. So I guess what I should do is start by talking about folding at home. That's probably be a good thing to do. Let me just sort out the tabs here. Bear with me just a second. Folding at home. There we go. It helps if I can spell. Okay, so we're going to go into this view now. Boom. Okay. So, folding at home. Folding at home is a tool that has been built by Stanford University. They built it a long time ago. It's a way of doing distributed computing, and it uses spare CPU and GPU cycles on your machine, and you crunch or you analyze different proteins and how they fold. Now, I'm certainly not a scientist whatsoever. I'm certainly not someone who knows what it is that they're particularly looking for in terms of these proteins. But these proteins are for certain disease types. So if I have a look, this is my folding at home client that I have running here on the actual Mac. This is currently running, and if I was to take a look at so it's ready. It isn't running. I have to press fold, but this is what it looks like, the tool that you get, and they send you work units to then crunch, and then you send back the result. And each work unit has a certain amount of complexity to it, and based on that complexity, there is some points. So, the more complex it is, the more points you get, that kind of thing. And, lots of people create teams. So, big companies have created teams for these type things. Hello, Tyranid. Hey, yo. So big companies like Google, Nvidia, you can imagine big gaming rigs, right, being used for this kind of stuff. But you can use it anywhere. You can use it I've got this on my iMac. I have it over on the Mac Mini back there. I've got it running off of my laptop as well. Now, the brilliant thing that they've done recently is I mentioned about the disease types. So let me just recap a minute. The disease types, so that if we go into configure, you can go into bear with me a minute. There is a setting, advanced. Here we go. So you can change the type of disease that you're focusing on. So, for instance, Alzheimer's, cancer, Huntington's, Parkinson's, or any. Now, if you select any, then you can actually use your computer to crunch proteins based on Covid-19. I don't know if you've heard about that. That's one of these kind of things that's happened recently. And which is brilliant, which means that us geeks now have the ability to help the scientists combat this awful virus, which I think is fantastic, which I think is amazing. So, I mean, when I was at university, we me and the other people at the digs there, we were folding, and then obviously life happened and work happened and stuff. So I kind of dropped it. But ever since this COVID-19 thing has happened, I've decided, look, I've got so much spare CPU compute here. Let's go and try and do something helpful. So they released this article the other day, Folding at Home update on the SARS-CoV-2, 10th of March 2020. Let me just make that a little bit bigger. So here, this is an update on the Folding at Home's effort to assist researchers around the world taking up the global fight against COVID-19. I won't read all of this, but I'll read some of it. So after initial quality control and limited testing phases, Folding at Home team has released an initial wave of projects simulating potential drug protein targets from SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. So they're actually releasing work units to help scientists sort of simulate potential druggable protein targets, which is amazing. Which is amazing. So they go on and talk about the initial wave, that they're trying to understand the coronavirus, how it interacts with the human ACE2 receptor. I have no idea what that is. I'm not even going to attempt to understand what that is. That is beyond me. All I know is that my CPUs and GPUs are being used for good. I have no idea what this is, or bio. So I'm not even going to pretend. So a lot of companies have done a call to arms recently. So Nvidia have recently done a call to arms for the gamers to install Folding at Home on their gaming rigs to help out. They've got their own GitHub repo here where you can talk about where it talks about the project in depth in terms of what it's broken up into different projects, so different types of work units and what they are. So if you want to delve into that, and here you can see like the protein as it folds. I guess that's what it is. And it's. I think it's a fantastic thing to do. I really do. I think because there's so much fear at the moment and everybody is sort of really worried, I kind of try and look at things in a way of what can I do to help? What can I do to help? And this is one of those things. So I'll tell you what, I've talked too much. I'm going to send you the link in the chat of this web page. This is the article that I've got up here. And if you're interested, this is the link to download this client that I showed you here. Now, there is also a viewer. I haven't got a work unit running here, but you will see the protein fold as it's currently working, which is awesome, which is so super geeky. Now, late last night, what I was doing was I was creating a Docker image, because you can actually run this manually through like the command line to install this on web servers. So I own a bunch of web servers anyway, so I'm going to see if I can install that. I put that on the podcast site earlier on today, which seems to be working okay. So yeah, I've created a Docker image for this. I've literally just finished doing it, to be honest. This is the GitHub repo for that, which is here. So you can see that I did it two hours ago. I last commit. And what I'm going to do now is I haven't got it installed on this machine because I was working on it on my laptop. So we're going to install it on this machine, and I'm just going to show you and demonstrate how to get it up and running. And then if I'm happy with it, which I think I will be, if I'm happy with it, then we will be pushing it to the Docker Hub under the How to Code Well banner, I suppose, brand, I guess. Okay, Okay, so this essentially installs that, but in Linux. That's what we're going to do. And here you can see that there's a bunch of variables that one can change. So your username, you can change the team as well. So we are team 236997. I will put that again in here in the chat. That is our team. So if you want to join our team, then please do so. You can set the power consumption to low, medium, or high. This means that if you're, so for example, when I'm streaming here, I would set it to low. This means that it basically hardly touches the CPU. I won't notice it. However, it's still working in the background, which is great. Medium, you can hear it working. It gets the fans going, and high uses all of the CPU space that it can possibly grab hold of. There is a pass key here. This pass key is to verify who you are. I'll talk about all of those in just a second. Then you can use the GPU if you want, true or false, and then a CPU count. So how many CPUs do you want to use? And then you run the Docker Compose build. That will build it. It will download it will run this Docker file. This is what I created. So because I only did it last night, like out of speed, we are using the Ubuntu image. I could have, if I wanted to, have used a smaller image, sure, but I just wanted to get this done as quickly as possible, and then once I'm happy with it, I'll probably, take a look at this Docker image and see if I can reduce the size of it, but it's not that big anyway. Anyway, so from Ubuntu, that's my main, the maintainer is me. We're having a non-interactive Debian front end. That's fine. We're then setting some arguments here. Now, I've done it like this because it means that we can alter the arguments if we wanted to at runtime and at build time. So you might not want to use Docker Compose to build this. You may want to use just the Docker arguments in your on the command line. And if you want to do that, then hey, that's fine. These are the these are the arguments that you change. They are the ones that are set in the environment file, the .env file. So your username, the team, power consumption, pass key, GPU, and CPU count. These are the default variables for those, and then we set them in as environment variables as well. We add the config file. So the config file, if I showed you, which is here. So it's an XML file, and it reads these variables in, and I'll talk about how I've changed those variables on the fly in just a second. So if we go to here, then go into, I've gone back to it. If we go back to the Docker file down here, okay, so we're adding the config file. For some reason, I needed to put it into the sample config file, otherwise this thing wouldn't run, which I'm not entirely sure why, but I just did that to sort that out. So then we update and install the base image, and we also install wget. We then install the Folding at Home client from this website, download.foldingathome.org, running off of version 7.4. That gets installed. We then install it obviously here, like so, and then we change the permissions of the XML file that we have added. Sorry, that is created. Okay, then here we sorry. What's going on? Maybe that needs to go in the middle. Maybe that's a misstep. Anyway, whatever. Once we've changed the permissions, we then run this sed command. This sed command is magic, because what this is doing is it's converting all of the environment variables to be the values that you want within the config file. So this is the config file here, and it's changing. So this is like a string replace. So replacing that with that, that with that, that with that, which means that if I go into the config file here, once it's on the Docker image itself, these will all be replaced with the proper values. Now you can see that I've hard coded the in the team here. In the Docker file, I've hard coded the team, but you can change that if you wanted to. So if you wanted to use this for another team, fine, go for it. Fill your boots. And then here we're starting the client, and then we're tailing off the logs using the follow mode, which means that if I do docker compose logs -f, we can get the log files. So did you try with the latest stable of the FH client? I was using, sorry, this is what Tyrannid's asking. I was using, if I find this, if I was using, it was, I can't, where did that go? Where did that go? Bear with me a minute. Let me see if I can find it. It is folding at home, manual install, and it is here. Okay, so I was using this down here. I was using these. So the FH 7.4.4. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, that is the latest stable. I hope. I hope. But I mean, obviously they'll improve this over time. It's software, it does. So if that happens, and when it does happen, what we may do is we may put, if I go back to it, we may put the version itself, in like an environment variable, so you can change it if you want. Okay. Taryn is saying that using you're using 7.5.1. Let me see. So there's this for the CentOS Fedora. So these are all. So perhaps this hasn't been updated. Okay, so maybe we should try 7.5.1. I can change this. I mean, I haven't downloaded this yet on this machine, so we could give it a go. Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that. I'll just grab that if I can. Where did that go in the browser? There we go. Okay, right, so 571. Oh, okay, good spot. So yeah, 7.5.1. I didn't see this. To be honest, I just went, oh right, it's a Mac. I'm not on a Mac. I don't want to do this on a Mac. So I didn't bother scrolling down. Fair enough. All right, so I will change it to 7.5.1 once I have this built. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Okay, so what I need to do then, therefore, is download this and then run the commands in here, and we should be hopefully good to go. So I just want to talk you through the environment variable. So here it's saying to copy the env.dist file to .env. So in my git ignore, I've ignored the .env file. Just, it's just common practice, to be honest. But in the env.dist, you also have these things that you need to set. So you can adjust your CPU values. I've got the team there. You can change that if you wish. And your username and your passkey. So once I download this, I need to run that, and then I need to adjust all of this. Once that's done, we should be able to run this here, docker compose -up. Docker compose up -d -build, and then to monitor logs, we do docker compose -f and then fah. Now, one point that I want to just mention before I kick this off is that if I go to the docker compose file, you'll see that the environment variable file is being used, but also we're pushing it into the arguments here, which gives you the option to use that. But the point that I want to make here is the volumes. So I was playing around earlier with how folding at home stores the progress of the work, and obviously with Docker you want to keep it persisted. So if you were to obviously take down the container and delete the container, so taking down the container and stopping it and pausing it is okay, but actually deleting the container and then bringing it back up again, you'll obviously lose your work, which is why we're using a Docker volume, which is the FAH client here, and we're putting that into var lib FAH client. Good. Okay, so let's get this bad boy running, shall we? So what we're going to do here is we're going to just do a clone. I literally haven't downloaded this yet, so we're just going to grab that. I'm just going to see if I can do it through SSH. Why not? And then in many windows are open. In here, let me bring that back just a wee bit, and also bring that back just in line with the browser. There we go. So I've copied that. We need to go into the terminal. We are in here. I'm just going to do an mkdir of folding, or FAH. Let's just call it that. CD into FAH. And then we're going to do a git clone of here. Wonderful. If I did an ls now, we should have folding at home. So let's do folding at home. Brilliant stuff. Okay, the first thing I need to do, obviously, is if I go back to the README, is I need to run this command. So we're going to do that. Next thing I need to do, if I did an ls, AL, we can see that we have the .env file here. The next thing I need to do is sort that out. So we're going to do, I'm just going to run nano because I'm lazy. We're going to do .env. Okay, my username is here. So it's pfwd. That's the team. We're going to run it on, we'll run it low first. We'll run it on low. I'll put my passkey in just a second. GPUs, I'm just going to run it on false, and we're going to use, probably, if I was to go over to here and see what we've got here, 3 CPUs. So I'm going to run it off of 3 CPUs for fun. That's good. Okay, I'm just going to bring it down here and put in my secret passkey, if I can find it. I had it in my notes somewhere. Let's bring that over here. There we go. Okay, bear with me a minute. I'm putting secret things into the terminal. Basically, all this passkey does, by the way, is just verify who you are. And you can run this on multiple machines at once, because all it does is well, not all it does, but what it does is it grabs all of the CPUs under one username, okay, and all the clients. So this prevents other people from using your username by accident. You don't have to have a username. You could do it by anonymous if you want to. Okay, so how? Give me a sec. I'm having problems with my Windows. Do I want to save the buffer? Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Let me cat that out again just to make sure that that is doing what I've asked it to do. Yes, it has. So I'll just clear down the screen, make a little bit of room, and then put that over here. Boom. Okay, so we've just wired that up, which means that the next thing I need to do is run this docker compose docker compose up -d build. So we'll copy that, and we'll paste it in. Nope, no, that's not pasting it in. Come on, copy this. Control C, come on, magic keyboard. Not so magic, are you? Press enter, and off it runs. So we will wait for that to do the thing. So you'll see up here, whoop whoop, up there, we've got the team number. So if you've done folding before, and you're looking for a team to join, then check that out. What you do if you're downloading the actual client, if you're on a Windows machine or a Mac, where you would put that is in here. You would go into configure, and then in identity you would put the team number like so in there. It's a bit small, I do appreciate that. And then your username. So you can do this without using Docker. I'm only using Docker because, I'm a bit of a Docker fanboy, and because I want to eventually, I already have this running off of one web server, which is our podcast site. I want to run this on, I've got multiple VPSs floating about that I want to put this on. And I've also got this running on, whilst this goes through, I've also got this running on the Beast. The Beast, that is the Mac Mini. If I log into here, this is it. Running against 11 CPUs. Now, I've noticed that there is a little bit of an issue that's happened recently with FAH. I think it's because of the load. They're having problems with the gateway. It keeps timing out and all of this stuff. Just keep trying. But the ETA on this one keeps spinning up for some reason. I don't know why. Yesterday it was flying through, so perhaps this is just a very tricky thing to process. And then obviously behind here we have our Jenkins that we'll be talking about later when we get into the PHP stuff. Cool. Okay, so this is let's cancel that. On the work unit. Okay. Yeah, I thought it would be like that. I thought there would be some sort of intelligence going on in the background on their side as to who gets what and how long the work units are in terms of like the complexities and all of this. I mean, this one has had 11 attempts. Having the Mac Mini running like that, it's only on medium, but I can hear it humming, and it is getting interestingly warm. So I may have to spin it down to light. This room isn't very well ventilated, especially when I'm streaming. Anywho. So that's now gone through. We have that volume that was created. Awesome. So if I did Docker, let's see if I can monitor the logs. So if I run this, okay. So these are the logs. So you can see that it's put in the configuration here. We can check that out. So we've got CPUs of 3. GPUs we're setting as false. This is the team, this is the username, and we're running against the type of CPU because, I don't want to use any GPUs. Now, this is quite a common thing in the last hour or so. I've noticed recently that there is this warning. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's because they don't have anything on their end yet. I think I've changed my configuration around quite some bit. So the point of this is that you just leave it running, right? And you just sort of forget about it, and you leave it running, and then you sort of monitor it. So it's not going to happen straight away. But hopefully during the stream, hopefully it will pick something up. But that looks okay. I mean, we're not getting any. There wasn't any Docker warnings. There wasn't any errors. It didn't fall over. We have the container running. It's fine. So we can come out of that. Okay. So let me see. I want to do a little bit of tidy up work on this repo before I put it to the Docker Hub. I think I want to that I need to sort out. That needs to have a dollar symbol in front. Just sort of pickety things. Config, I think, looks okay. I'm just kind of reviewing my own work here. Yeah, sorry, I thought I saw config. I thought I saw. Oh, cool. Fair enough. What I did is I forked someone else's repo, hacked around with it a little bit, and then made it my own. So this is why I'm seeing the history. I don't think there was anyone. No, I added the Docker Compose parts to it. I would imagine there's contributors on here. Yep. Sorry, that kind of threw me then. I was like, no, I've only just released this. But no, that does make sense. That does make sense. I should also be, if I was to load this up, I should also be logged in. So if I did Docker login to the hub itself, hopefully, please log me in. Yes, I am. Good. Okay, so once I'm happy with this Docker image, I'm going to push it up to the Docker Hub, I think. What I would like to do is just play around with it and see if we can actually get it running without Docker Compose, because there'll be people who will want to use this. Well, I hope who don't have Docker Compose installed, and I don't want a barrier of entry here. So I want to say you can either run it through Docker Compose or you can do Docker Run yourself. So let me see if I can test that out. What we're going to do is just do Docker Compose stop of FAH. I suppose I should also put this into the overwhelmed by the traffic. I imagine so. I've been watching various big companies like do a call to arms for this, which I think is fantastic. Okay, so that stopped it, and I will put that into the logs as well. I think I just want to have a sort of a very clear set of documentation. I don't want this to be half built, you know. So we go over to, I tell you what I haven't done yet is I haven't actually got this running in PHP Storm. So 2 seconds whilst I get that done. FAH, folding at home, thank you very much. And I would like to do this in a new window. Brilliant. Okay, so that's to install. Let's go back to editing mode. So that's to install. We're going to have a section in here called stopping containers, like that. And that is bash. And then we've got, I'm going to have a section as well for uninstall. So this is Docker Compose down, -v, and then --rmi equals all. I think that's correct. We'll just try that out. Let me see. Whoops, let me run that. So this should hopefully delete everything, including the... Actually, before I do that, let's just do a help. Let's not make any assumptions. RMI type, there we go. Remove images, all. Remove all images used by any service. Local, remove only images that have a custom tag set. that should be fine because it's any images on this project, so that's okay. And then -v, so it is down -v -rmi equals all. Okay, so folding at home, removing the network, removing the client, and then removing the image. Brilliant. So that is my uninstallation script. Okay, what else can we do? I'm going to change this to be capitalized, so L, M, and H, because that's what it needs, I think. We're going to put in a $sign there. So CP that to dist, and then here we're going to change all of those bits and pieces, and then we're going to run the bash. Okay, I think what I'm also going to do is just have a little bit of a linkage going on here. So we can do how to code well team, and the team number is 23697, and the link to the team is this one. So we're gonna put that in like so. Yeah, I think that's good. I think I'm happy with that. I think. Let me have a look at the actual output of that. How to code well team install. Good. Let's have a look at the actual components of this. So the Docker file, that seems okay. There is this weird thing going on here. Why am I adding the config file here? I think what I need to do. Well, I'll tell you what. One thing that I definitely need to do, as Tieran has mentioned, is bump the version up. That would be great. Let's see if we can do that. So it was 5 point something or other, wasn't it? It was 5 point. I've got it on alternative. 5.1. 7. Sorry, 5.1. What am I talking about? 7.5.1. I think is the thing here. So we're going to do 7.5.1 of all the things. So just copy that into here. 7. That's all good. That should be underscore. Look, I'm assuming that's 7.5. I guess. I wonder if I can see that actually on the browser. I wonder if I can access that. Not found. No, okay. It's obviously not a path. That's fine. I was just having a play. Okay, 7.5, 7.5.1, and then 7.5.1 here. That looks good to me. Yep, that's good. We'll run this and see if it works. So we'll just do an up-d -build, and fingers crossed it will build it all. So it's doing, at the moment, it's doing the apt-get update and apt-get install. It's ooh. That didn't work. Error not found. 404. Can I capture it from here? Can I go? That's AMD64deb. AMD64deb. Can I copy the link address? And can I put it in there and then just compare? Okay, so we've got some differences here. So it's 7. So that's 7.5. That's all the same. Releases is the same. Public is the same. Release is the same. It changes at this point here. So, okay, I'm running off of testing. And they're running off of stable. Which makes sense, I guess. Okay, so let's grab that and put that into here. Hey, King Melon Live!
Hello, coders.
Hey, and hey, another username that is proper difficult to pronounce. I swear you guys do this on purpose. Hello, hello. I'm gonna try it. Mawal Dalali I'm just using. Noise is just coming out of my mouth. It's not making any sense. Hello. Thank you for following. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What I'm doing, just as a quick recap, is I'm building a Docker image for folding at home, which you can run if you want on web servers or on your Linux boxes. And this helps folding at home process work units of proteins, and they have released a bunch of work for COVID-19, which is, it's brilliant. And we've set up a How to Code Well team. I did it over the weekend. The team number is, if I can get my fingers in the right position, there. Links are in the chat above as well. I'm tweeting and all of this stuff too. Right, so we changed this to stable. That's good. So I think that, fingers crossed now, we have this this running. It's working. Let's do an up-D again and try it. There's so much panic and fear in the world at the moment. It's nice to just, utilize your tools in a good way. I think it's a great thing that they've done. A great thing. Excellent. Okay, so this is now running through all the things. Brilliant. So let's see if we can get the logs running. I was trying to be clever and doing a reverse search. There we go. Okay, so the logs are running. That is ready on the CPU count. Fine. We're still getting these warnings, but I think it's mostly because they're becoming overloaded with bits and pieces, which is perfectly understandable. So I'm proper happy with this, to be honest. For something that I've created in a couple of hours, I think it's brilliant. He says with a big head. I say a couple of hours. I was up late last night doing this, so it was more than a couple of hours. Okay, so that's good. That seems to have all gone through. I'm happy with that now. So I think it is time. Well, let's push these changes up. Let's do git commit. So we'll do these one at a time. So this was bumping up version of FAH client to, and what was the version? It was 7.5.1. There we go. And this one was updating the README. Updating docs. Let's commit this, push it up. Off it goes. And let's have a look at the GitHub repo. which is there. If I refresh the page, there we go. We've got the changes in. So install, monitor the logs, stopping containers, and install. Yep. Groovy. Okay, so let's get this up onto the Docker Hub, shall we? Let's get this actual Docker image on the Docker Hub. So what I need to do is I need to tag it, and then I need to push it up. I guess what I could also do is see if I can get it to run putting in build arguments as well, which I think I should be able to. I wouldn't mind having a part of the documentation that shows people that you don't need to have Docker Compose for this to work. So anyway, let's see if we can do that. Let's go into here. Let's come out of that. Let's do a Docker Compose stop. We should have the image. So that's now stopping. Come on. I'm also going to do a RMI. Actually, I'm going to just delete it. I should have done it before. RMI, just because I want to do a build now. So I'm just going to grab that, put this in here. So it is Docker run. This is the eventual thing that I want it to do. So it will be how to code well / now, do I call it folding at home, or do I call it FAH? I think folding at home makes sense. It's more verbose. So Docker run, and then we need to pass in some environment variables or arguments. I think we'll do arguments. So, give me 2 seconds whilst I look for some documentation for this. Gotcha, yeah. I can never remember whether it's build arg or build args, because to me build args makes sense, but because you do it one at a time. So build arg. Gotcha. All right, get back into here. So Docker run build arg. Okay, so the arguments that we want to run are these things, and that's double. So this is username is equal to pfwd, team is equal to 236 whatever. Then we've got power is equal to medium. Now unfortunately I'm going to have to put in this for all of them, which sucks. But hey, it's just the way it is. The way it is. What else do we need? We need to have the pass key. We need to have I put power in? I've put power in, yeah. Pass key. I'm going to see if we can do this like that, just to make it a little bit more verbose, you know? I can see it now. So build arg. Okay, pass key, GPU. So yeah, pass key. Whatever, foobar. GPU. There was a GPU and then there was another thing, wasn't there? There was a GPU and a CPU count. So GPU is true or false depending on whether or not you want to use the GPU. We're going to set this to false. And there was another one which was CPU count. And we're going to set that to 3. Okay, so Docker run. That looks okay. I don't think there's anything else. Let's have a look at the Docker file. I don't think there is anything else that I need to worry about for that. Now, obviously, I need to push this image up before I can actually run this. So one thing I could do is I could do a Docker compose build, right? So this will just build the image. So it's not going to run it. It's not going to do an up at all. It's just going to build the image and save it on my machine. And then I can tag it. And then I'll tag it with this, and then I should be able to push it after I run this and make sure it all works. Because this means that people will just run this and then it's up and it's good. It's good to go. Okay, so we've tagged it. Successfully tagged. Folding at home, FAH latest. If I did a Docker images, folding at home, excuse me. So what I could do to test this is I could do Docker tag FAH to 2 seconds. Docker tag source and then target, of course. Yeah, just getting those right. So this is the source, and then the next one is the target. The target being this. Now, if you don't put in the tag, then it'll assume it's latest. So we're just going to hit that. So now, if I did Docker images, we should see both of them up there. How to code well, folding at home, and folding at home FAH. Don't worry about the others. This is all stuff to do with the microservices thing that we're playing around with. So it's just these two at the top here. Notice they're exactly the same size. They're only 100. It's only 113 meg. So I mean that's nice and tidy. No worries during it. Have a good day. Have a good day. Take care. Take care. So now we should be able to run this. We should be able to do all of these things. Now, I'm not going to put in the passkey, and I'm going to just put in a funky username, just to make something up, like, foobar, whatever. And we're going to see if we can get this to run. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Okay, -- build arg is not found on path. Maybe if we... Have I got these around the wrong way? No, that should be okay. Let's just get rid of all these, put this all on one string, just for the time being. ARG. No, it is spelled correctly. Okay. Okay, so no, there is a problem here. Build arg executable file not found in path. Have I totally forgotten how to use Docker? I think I have. I think I've totally forgotten how to use Docker. I have totally forgotten. This is what happens when you use Docker Compose too much. You put the image in after you put in the arguments. So we need to do this as -d, right? And I think we could probably get away with doing that, maybe. Hang on a minute. What's going on here? Docker run -d build arg. Oh, how embarrassing. My mind's going totally blank. It's docker build with the arguments and then docker run, isn't it? Because when we do docker run -help, if we did docker run options and then the image and then the command and then the arguments these aren't build arguments. There is attach CPU. Yeah, I think it is actually. Isn't it like that? So it's -d, then the image, and then the build arguments of the image. Is that right? Yeah. Too many tabs. Too many tabs. There we go. No, that's failed. Build arg executable file. That's weird. That's a bit weird. Let's have a look on the Docker Hub a minute. Docker Hub. Docker run. So normally you would do this in the build. So you would do docker build and then docker run, but I want to see if I can do this in one command. So it wouldn't be docker run. Run. No, that's not. No. I'm just having a look at some posts on Stack Overflow. Okay, so normally you would do it through build, right? So you would do build, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Let me have a look at these again. Attach list? No. No, it's not blatantly obvious to me. And it should be. It should be. Okay, so that's where I could pass in the environment list interesting. So I could do it with -e maybe, rather than passing each one. Da, 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 da. Docker compose build, Docker compose, yeah, it's all build. Run. I wonder if I can get away with doing it as environment variables. Yeah. Yeah, I should be able to do that. Environment variables, I think, probably the best way to go. Yeah, they allow you to send variables to your application that run in your container defined by a Docker file. Yes, of course. So it's running off of a Docker build, arguments, all of this stuff. Runtime arguments versus environment variable arguments. Here's an example of how it works. So maybe you're in a little bit of a secret backend URL, entry points, E. Let's try it through. Yeah, I'm getting confused with build time and runtime environment variables. So it's Docker run, and then we pass in -e for these things. There we go. E. All right, let's see if we can get these to run. Docker run -d. Docker run -d. My image variable. I guess I could use the environment list as well. Not found in path. It's almost like it can't find that Docker image. If we were just to run it without any variables, I mean, I suppose that's probably a good test, right? There we go. Okay, so that can be found. And if I did a docker ps -a, there should be one somewhere, yeah, called the FAH up here. So let's just get rid of those. So docker rm -f of this one and this one and I'll get there in the end. That one. Okay. Can I do this then instead? env file. It's .env. It's not letting me put anything after the image. Let's see if we can do it with build. There we go, and set that to build. Docker build all these things with the current context. I can't spell build. I can't spell build. Silly me. There we go. And let's see. Where did the music go? Where did that go? There we go. Let's get that back on. Okay, so this isn't going in my favor here. So now we're saying can't find it in the path context. So that would be the path context. And this is like it requires exactly one argument. So although, as I've just witnessed, the Docker build doesn't take this, it takes the, there we go. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It takes that, doesn't it? I haven't done this in a long time. There we go. Okay, so that's building it through, passing in the build arguments, fine. Okay, so we can put that in as the documentation as well. So, grab that. Okay, so we're going to do install manually without Docker Compose. Okay, so we run this here, and we're going to after that's gone through, we then need to run it. Okay. Good, that's gone. So, just thinking. Do we need to do that again? And then once that's done, we get the image and then we run it. Good, good, good. Okay, Docker PS-A. Sorry, Docker images, I should say. That's the one we've got. Good, good, good. If I did Docker run of that, let's just give it a name quickly, just to let's call it FAH_test. Starting the FH client. Oh, I like that. All right, let's do this in the background. So come out of that. Out, 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 out. Come on. Off. Give me my prompt back, please. I would like my prompt back. I don't think I'm going to get that back. So let's do a... CD into how to go well FAH. Let's do a docker ps-a. It's, which one is it? Which container is it that I'm playing with? It is this one. That needs to go. It is up. So let's do docker rm -f All right, now I've got my prompt back. Thank you very much. I should have done that, of course, in -d. So if we went up a couple of times, it's the run command. Whoops. This command here. I should have done it with run -name and then -d to run it in the background, like that. And then what I should have done is then do docker logs -f of FAH test. There we go. And I can come out of that and get my prompt back. Boom. So we're going to install it manually without Docker. We'll do that, and then we'll do bash. It is. What was the command? Totally forgotten. There we go. Now, eventually this is obviously going to come off of the Docker Hub, so it will hopefully find that. I just need to take a look at the Docker Hub, and make sure that all my bits and pieces are set up. We go into there. I always get... So, I have a problem with the whole sign up, sign in type thing. I always get them muddled up. The other day I was on a website, and maybe I'm showing my age, and I just kept pressing sign in when I wanted to hit sign up, and I was just like, no, why are you taking me to a login form? And it's because it's like I prefer log out and sign in. It's very clear. One starts with an S, the other one starts with an L, or log in and sign out. It's just me thing. It's a me thing. It's a me thing. Okay, I'm gonna need to log into Docker Hub, aren't I? So let's sort that out. Yep, YubiKeys in. Okay, good. So Docker Hub. Who am I going in as? Me. Whoops. Okay, give me a second whilst I fiddle about with the Docker Hub. I'm logging in. Yay! Yeah, we'll save it. No, don't save that. And goodbye. So we're in the Docker Hub. We have 2 images apparently. I thought we had more than that. No, we got more than that. Yes, fine. Cool. Yeah, we do have. Gosh, there's loads of downloads. I haven't been in this for a while. There's loads and loads of downloads. That's really good to see. 937 for the web server for Manning. Nice. Nice. Sweet. We're going to create a new repo. It's going to be public. And the build settings auto triggers a build with every git push to your source code repo. I don't know whether I want to do that or not. Not yet. So this is the tagging Docker tag. So this will be our local image, and then this will be the repo. And then what you do is you do push Docker push. Oof, off it goes. So I need to put in a name. We're going to call this folding at home. Folding at home. And this is to join the how to code well folding at home. I can't spell folding at home team. And I'll put in here the team number, and help fight diseases. Diseases. Shush, shush. There's too many S's in diseases. It's and help fight diseases such as COVID-19. Okay, cool. We're gonna create it. It's created. It's created. Marvelous. And then here we will tag it and do a push. Doesn't have a read. That's fine. That's all good. That's all good. Okay, so how to code well, folding at home, and then the tag. Let's just have a look at the other things I have. Why is that not going? Good. I just want to see how I've tagged other things. So Concrete 5, for instance. Tag name. Okay, no, I don't think I've used that. That might just be a blank build, but I certainly have definitely used the Manning web servers and stuff. 1.7. Okay, so I've been incrementing them. And then latest, obviously. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll push up latest first. So okay. All right. Docker images. This is the bad boy. No, this one is. this one. This one. So I could do Docker RMI. Let's just tidy up my workspace. RMI -f of that one, and also of this one, the image of that. There we go. Docker images. Can't spell images. Images. How to code well. We got to make sure that these marry up. How to code well / for folding at home. This is where my spelling gets in my way. At home. That's fine. Good. Tag is latest. So I'm gonna push it up with the tag of version 1, 1.0, I guess. Tag does not exist. No, sorry, I need to tag it as version 1. Let's do that. Docker tag. Yeah, let's do that. That's probably a sensible thing to do. Docker tag of that to version 1. Now I also obviously need to grab that as the source as well. Yeah. Sorry, I normally get build tools to do this rather than myself. Docker tag, how to code well, folding at home, that's the source, and then that's the destination. Yeah, so if I did Docker images now, we should now see that we have, not only do we have the latest, but we also have the tag of 1. Do I want it as tag of 1, or do I want it as 1.0.0? I mean, having it as 1.0.0 gives you the opportunity to tweak and use some sort of semver versioning, so we might do that. Docker RMI -f of this one, tagged, folding at home, tag of 1, and then we will tag that again to 1.0.0. There we go. Let's tag that Docker images. There we go. So we've got 1.1 now. Okay, cool. So then we do the push, and this is 1.0.0. Up it goes. Up it goes. So we are now pushing a Docker image to the Docker Hub, which means that other people can pull this down and run the FAH client against it. So yeah, we'll wait for those things to happen. Sometimes it takes a bit of time. It is essentially pushing up 113 meg, I think. Well, yeah, it is 113. So we'll push this up, and then we'll also push up the latest version as well, and we'll keep the latest one up to date as much as possible. But for things like the version issues, so as Tieran had mentioned in the chat beforehand, I was running an old version, so those kind of things I would want to have my own little tag here. So if I changed it from, I think it was 4.4, 4.1 to 5 to 7 point something, 5 point, whatchamacallit, that would be a bump up. Losing my words today. I'm losing my words. I'm drinking vitamin water, because everyone needs to stay healthy right now. Okay. What I'm going to do whilst this goes is I'm going to grab, I'm just going to pop to the loo. I'm going to get another cup of tea as well. And I will be back. I will be back whilst this... it's pushed up. It's pushed up. Well, I need to shoot off and get a cup of tea anyway, but I will be back. And we'll see if we can build it. So, yeah, 2 seconds. it helps if I get my cup, right? Be back in a minute. Okay. 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 How many times can I say that? I have me tea, a new fresh cup of tea. Sorry it took so long. I'm a bit out of breath because I ran up and down the stairs. You know, you have to wash your hands a little bit more these days. Okay, so that's now being pushed, which means that we should be able to go to here, refresh the page, and there we go. See, we got the tag. Woohoo! I'm going to put this in the chat because this is the repo. This is our little repo that we've just been building. We go into the public view. Oh. Of course, I've given you the wrong link because this is the link. Sorry. Good. Okay. What I need to do is update this and make it more sort of user friendly. So we go back into the manage repo, and here we can do the README. So if automated build is enabled, README will be synced from the source control repository on successful build. Okay. Click here to edit. Okay, so that's where you're writing in a thing. Let's cancel that. Let's have a look at if automated build is enabled, README will be synced from the source code repository on a successful build. Is there a way I could, in settings here, I don't want to make it private. I certainly don't want to delete it. Webhooks. New webhook name? No, I'm not interested in that. Not yet. Collabs? No. Timeline. New. How do I set that up then? If we did edit, that's just going to edit that. Public view. Nope. Tags. That's fine. If automated build is enabled, which I think it is. Builds. There we go. Okay, so let me just bring this down here. Down here. Whilst I put in me secret bits. Link to GitHub. Select the repository. That's annoying. Folding. No, it's not going to find it, is it? Because it's a different organization. Oh, damn. Darn it. Okay, let me fiddle around with this. Account settings, maybe? I don't really know. Linked accounts. Here we go. GitHub account. Bitbucket. Relink the provider? No, I don't really want to do that. I don't think. The thing is, because on my GitHub, I've got my account, and I've also got disconnect provider. I don't want to disconnect the provider though. Maybe I need to. Let's give it a go. Right, now let's hit connect. Now what are you going to do? Linked accounts. Great. It's just linked it to that. It's because on my GitHub I have PFWD as my account, and then I've got the organization, How to Code Well, and I can't see if there's a way of attaching a personal GitHub or Bitbucket account to this Docker Hub organization will allow organization owners to this Docker Hub organization. So this Docker Hub organization, we suggest using a service user, also referred to as a machine user or bot account. Really? Please note that a GitHub can only connect to one Docker Hub account at a time. Yeah. Okay, I think for now, what I'm going to do, because this looks like it's going to be a bit sort of icky, is I think for now I'm just going to edit the README file manually. I think that's probably the better thing. If I get a create. See, I don't want to do that. Repositories, folding at home. All right, let's bring this back up. Well, I just knocked my tea with my mouse. That sort of nervous stage, you don't know whether you're going to splash tea on your desk or not. So in the README here, we're going to go over to here. We're going to grab all that, and we're going to paste it in. Preview. Hopefully it does Markdown. Yes, it does. Now, of course, because I've pushed it up to the hub, of course, it's slightly different here. In fact, what I could do just to test this out is I could do Docker images. I can delete the Docker image, so I can do Docker RMI -f of this tagged 0.0. So I can remove that image, so it's untagged. So if I did Docker images again, we just have the latest build, which is fine. What I can do is I can now do a Docker pull from the repo. I think at the moment I should also just do a Docker push of this image, because it's going to push it up to the latest. It's exactly the same. This is why it's saying all the layers exist, but it's always good, I think, to have a latest tag and a version tag as well. So so yeah, if we go to tags here now, we should see that we have latest and 1.00. Both have the same digests, which is fine. 56 meg compressed, which isn't bad. Okay, so this is if I did public view, we should see the Docker pull command here. And if I went back to manage repo, and if I did paste all that in, and if I did save it, so if we did preview, it's looking fine, and hit update, right? And then if we did do public view again, we should now see that this is updated, which it is, and we could see that we have the tags here, latest and image, and 1.0.0, brilliant. So what I would like is to have this read as it would be for someone to actually, install it. Hey, all right, Adam Beachcast, how's it going? Yeah, I've been streaming for how long has it been now? 1 hour 40 minutes. Feels like 5 minutes. Yeah, so I want to change this to be a little bit more user friendly, I think, because now as it's being pushed up to the Docker Hub, we want to be pulling it down. So where we've got the Docker compose, build, that kind of stuff, we want to change that a little bit to make it more act like someone actually pulling this down from the Docker Hub rather than from GitHub, because it will be slightly different. Awesome. I'm working on a folding at home Docker image for the. We've just started a How to Code Well folding at home team, and folding at home is a tool. It's a distributed computing tool which allows scientists to fold and analyze proteins based on various different diseases, one of which is COVID-19. So I really do like the things that they do. It's folding at home is done by Stanford University. So if I was to go to the links, here we go. So if we go to here. So folding at home did an update the other day saying that they are joining the efforts to fight against COVID-19 because they have some initial projects that we can use. A lot of this is, well, all of this, to be honest, I must say, is completely over the top of my head. But what happens is that you download a client, which looks, by the way, like this. And the client will use spare CPU cycles and GPU cycles as well, if you've got one. Your machine will process the work units that they supply and send the information back for the scientists. It's a fantastic distributed computing tool. SETI did one as well for radio, I believe. What I've done, because I'm a Docker fanboy, is that you can create you can do this. You can install this on Linux in the manual installation here. So what I've done is I've created a Docker image that people can use, and I've just pushed it up to the Docker Hub. And the image is here. The Docker file is here. So this is creating the Docker file with the environment variables and so forth, downloading the folding at home client, and then running it, changing all the bits and pieces for the config, and then it runs, tails the log, and off it goes. So I've just pushed this up to the Docker Hub, and I'm trying to kind of testing it from the perspective now of a user pulling it down from the Docker Hub, and configuring it themselves. So yeah, that's what we're working on. And then after this, we're going to be playing around with the PHP stuff, which I do, with the new howtocodewell.net website that I am building. This is sort of a segue a little bit, a sort of a side project, another side project, because you can never have too many, right? So cool. I've just literally pushed this up now, and I want to see if I can just get it running if I was to pull it down. So to pull it down, I would do, well, first of all, let's do a docker. What was the last command I did? Docker push. Okay, docker images. So this is obviously running locally now. So I need to remove it. I need to do docker RMI -f. You don't need -f, I don't think, but whatever. I don't think it's not being used. So RMI image ID response. Oh, it is being used. Let's see, have a look and see what image is using it. Docker PS. What's up? What's running? This one. This is running. Of course, that's right. Yeah. So if I did a docker stop of FAH_test and then remove it. No worries. Enjoy the sandwich. Cool. Docker PS-A now. Good. That's good. Let's do a docker RMI. That's the right ID, isn't it? Docker images. There we go, it's down. Docker PS-A. Sorry, I'm getting myself confused. Docker PS. So PS-A gets all containers regardless of whether they're up or not. And I'm looking for the ones that aren't, which is this one. I could, of course, do a docker system prune. Docker RM now to remove the container. That is the container address. So if I did docker PS-A, we shouldn't have that there. No. And if we did docker images, that shouldn't be there either. Awesome. So what I can do now, if I clear down the screen, make a little bit more room, is I can follow these instructions. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to do a docker poll. Well, let's just paste that in. Let's not make life more difficult for ourselves. Let's pull that down. So this is now pulling the image that we've just pushed up to the Docker Hub. We're pulling it down. It's always good to make sure it works. And not that there isn't any crazy configuration that you have that changes the image on the fly or something daft. Okay, so that's pulling it down. And then we're going to run these two commands. So the docker build, but actually no, we're not going to run. We're going to use this one. Sorry, we're going to run that command here. So that build command, I don't think we actually need in this, because there's a difference, you see, between when you're creating the image and when you're pushing the image for distribution. There's a different set of configuration that you need to think of, or a different mindset at least. Okay, so that's pulled down. If I did docker images now, we should see that that's in there, which it is. Good stuff, good stuff. So let's do a docker run. Docker run hyphen name, because I like to name my images, -d of how to code well folding at home. And there we go. So that's the Docker image running now. We've got a container. That's the digest of the container. So if I did a PS-A, there we go. It's up and running. And if I did a Docker logs again, we can see the log files that have been created. It's saying no work units available for this configuration, even though we've got CPU set to 3. And what I could do, I suppose, is I could go in as bash just to have a little look. So exec of, no, that's the wrong service, isn't it? It should be -it of FAH test, I believe I was called it. And we're going to go in as bash. So we're now inside the container. And if I was to do... let's clear down the screen, make a bit of room. CD etc. I believe we have it in. There's something in here called FAH client. Yes, did an ls. Did a cat of the config. Awesome. So we do have the 3 and all that. So that's good. Okay. That's good. I mean, what I'm going to do just quickly is just do a grep. I'm going to do a cat of config hyphen grep, and because I want to just see if there's power. Grep. There we go. Power. No. It's missing the power for some reason. Okay, give me a second. It's missing the power. So, that's not right. It's missing the power. So, let's go back to here. What I mean by that is that in the config that gets created, it's missing this power section here, which means that either the power environment variable isn't set, which it is set, to low. Maybe I need to change that to something else, like medium. So what happens is when you do a Docker run, it reads the environment variables such as these, and then adds them to here. And if you don't, it will override it with medium. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is just come out of just clear that down, bring that back up again. Exit out of here. I'm just going to change my environment variable, so that is medium. There we go. So it is medium, and then we're going to do a Docker down. No, that's compose. Docker rm -f of fah test, and then a Docker run of home, and then we're going to do a logs. It's still saying no work units available. That's a shame. That's a shame for this configuration. Now this could be my end or it could be their end. I'm gonna have to tail that out, and we're going to down here. Just bring that down here so I can see it. This is a cat of etc config. I just want to see what has been changed. Config. So power is still set to low. Okay, hang on a minute. Whoa, because I'm telling the logs something is happening here. So this is what's happened. This is happening a lot recently, and I think it's because they're being swamped by requests. The thing that's puzzling me though is that why power isn't added to this, because this gets generated on the fly for each work unit based on the variables that I've set, the arguments that I've put through. Now I can already see that the power is already set to low in the actual on the actual thing. So if I was to grep that out, so I'm a little confused as to that, because cat of etc. Let's just clear that on that screen. Cat of etc fah, there we go, fah, and then it's config.xml, pipe to grep, and it is power. That's what I'm after, isn't it? Still nothing, and yet I can see it in etc fah. Bear with me a minute, I know you can't see this. It's definitely there. Oh no, it's not. It's just no, because of course each work unit rewrites the config.xml. Okay, yes. Right. There's a lot of things you got to remember here. Okay, so let me have a little look at the environment variables here. We've got that set. That's fine. The config here, the power is set there, and the power is being added by the env file, which is perfectly fine. Power is being overwritten there in the sed command. That seems fine. There's no issue there. Yeah, so when I say it overrides, this is what I mean here. How bizarre. How bizarre. And I believe this is their end. Hanging up, I think. Username, team, power. I just want to make sure the power is set correctly, as expected. So up here, we've got power, and we've got power. So what this sed command is doing, you see, is it's replacing the things in double curly brackets with the environment variables that are set up here. And obviously the environment variables can either be set through the build arguments or through the env file. So I just want to make sure that nothing is being overwritten. Like nothing's being overwritten badly. Power, that's fine. And all of these are in the right places. Essentially, this is just a big sort of regex type thing. It's just string replacement. Of that. Well, this seems okay. Seems okay to me. The config file itself is set like this. And I'm going to have another look at the env file. It seems okay to me. It's set to medium. And the spelling of medium is also correct. Which is something I need to look out for because my spelling is appalling. Alright, let me just see. It has totally hung up there. I tell you what we could do actually, is jump into this as bash, and we should be able to do a print env. Now I'm just going to do this down here. I don't want to do it on screen, just to check my environment variables. So yeah, passkey's in there. That's good. PWD team. Username's correct, hostname is correct. But power, the power variable, the environment variable for power isn't in there. So, oh no, sorry, tell a lie, it is, but it's low. It's low. Let me come out of this. Let's do a Docker. I think what I need to do is remove the image because it would be baked in the image, wouldn't it? Yes. Come on. Pedal back. I should know this. Yes. The environment variable is baked into the image and therefore it's not going to change if I was to run the image again because it'll be the same environment variable as it was before. So let's remove the container. Does this mean then therefore that it gets, yes, it does get baked into the... Okay. I think I know what's going on here. I think I understand. And I will recap in just a second once I get what is in my mind out on the code. Um, give me a second. There. Clear that down. All right. Let's just come out of this terminal. So we're just here, and then let's just clear down the screen and just start from fresh. So docker ps-a, we're going to remove that. I've already done that. Good. So docker images. So this would have been baked with the environment variable of low, which is okay. I mean, that's an acceptable amount. But what I would like to do is bake it with my own environment variables, and the way I would do that is to pull it down and use the env file. Yes. So I don't know why I moved that, sorry. So we're going to do a docker RMI. So I do apologize, I am jumping backwards and forwards a bit here. You know, I'm just trying to debug the images. Okay, so we've just removed that. Obviously, if we want to pull it down, we would do docker pull, but we don't want to do that. We want to do a docker build, because docker build gives us the opportunity to then pass in our own build arguments, which will override based on the Docker file here. Can you see if I... Yeah. So what this is doing, where you've got your arguments and then you've got your environment variables, these will be used as default, whereas these will be used as, to override them. So if there is any environment variables that you get passed through, you'll have these overwritten, which was the whole reason why I did it. So what we want to do is do a Docker build, passing all of those arguments. Can you see the power is now set to medium? This is the current build context, but we don't want to do that. We want to build it from the Docker hub. So the Docker hub here is that command, and I believe if I remember rightly, Docker build -- help will tell me there is, so you got the arg list here. These are the options. The options come before the path, the URL of the image that you want to build. So, of course that's going to do that. No. There we go. So, and then it's the path or the URL. In this case, the path stroke URL is that, I believe. Apparently not. Oh, hang on. Have I got a... Is there a full stop there? Was there a full... Oh, there was a full stop back there. Docker build arg, and then that is the current working context. The error here is unable to prepare context. Docker build options path and URL. No. How to code well, Docker build arg, build arg, build arg, build arg, build arg, and then that's the path. The error context path. I think it's because it's a build, not a pull, and I'm trying to get it from the so a build is building the a build is building from the current context. It's not actually building it from the Docker hub. The Docker pull will pull it down, which will pull down the image. So I will need to specify the environment variables. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's not going to work, but a pull will pulling it down and then a run, and then what you can do with the run is you can use -e's in replacement of the build args to then override those variables. I sounded like a farmer then. Variables. Paul.
Let me show you how to create an amazing ad using stock footage.
Good. So we're going to pull this down. I feel like I've done this like a million times already. Backwards and forwards, forwards and backwards. With the Mac Mini behind me, it's kicking out a bunch of heat. So this room is getting nice and toasty. Nice and toasty. Okay, so I've pulled that down now, which means that I can do a run with that. And when I do a run, I can of course use. I could do that, and I could also supply -e, because if I did a docker run -help, what you do is you supply, scroll up here, docker run, then the options, the image is the thing that we've literally just pulled down, the command and the arguments. So this will be docker run -d because I want to do it detached mode. And then options, I think we've got a -e. Yep, env list. Set environment variables, or I could read it from an environment variable file if I wanted to. So, okay. If I did, oops, here. Docker history, come on, of how to code well / folding at home. There we go. So we can see the history of it. So that's the sed command. We can see that the power is set to medium. So now I should be able to do docker run -d. We're going to give it a name. So -- name of FAH test. The environment variable would be E. And let's change the username just as a test for this. So the username here is set to PFWD. We're going to set this username to foo bar, like so. The team's fine. Yeah, I think therefore it's just how to code well / folding. I think this is correct. Folding at home. There we go. It's built it. It's put it in the background. If I did a docker logs of FH8 test, that's the container that we're just using here. It seems to have all gone through okay, which is good. Still saying that there's no work units available for this user. Now, one thing I have just thought of course, is because I'm in the directory for the build itself, it's going to be using the environment variables that I have, which isn't really a fair test, to be honest. Because what it'll do is it go, oh, you got an env file, right? Okay, I will just use that, shall we? So ideally, what I should do, just as an experiment here, is come out of this, and we should. Well, of course, I've just literally come out of the whole terminal. God, silly me. Let's make that a bit bigger. Sorry about that. What I should do is pull it down from and then play with it from a different directory that isn't actually the directory that I'm building. I'm configuring all the things in. So I know that I'm doing this forward and back type malarkey. You just have to bear with me whilst I get this correct. So docker ps -a docker rmi, which is I've called it a name, so that's fine. That's okay. FAH test. No, it's not RMI. Sorry, it's RM. And then docker RMI. There we go. And then what I'm going to do, ls, is I'm going to come out of this directory, and we're just going to be in the directory above. Okay, so there's no environment variables, nothing hidden. And if I did docker images, we don't have the image, so I'm going to just do a quick pull. So docker, not that. Docker. And I'm kind of thinking that I should have pushed it up without the variables in. So I might have to repush it. I might have to do it again and repush it without the envs, because I've got a feeling it's now baked in there, which is not good. So yeah, I think that's probably what I'm going to have to do, to be honest. Let's do a docker run -d up of that, and then do a docker logs. Yeah, because it's still got the username in there. So I think what I'm going to do is delete that tag, remove the tag, or I could override it, of course, and then have it as an optional thing. Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? That didn't go as planned. Of course, what I could do is not use environment variables and just get people to change the. I mean, the easiest thing here is to not use environment variables and just get people to change the config file. Because if I think about it, the config file needs to be updated and the environment variables need to be updated. So you may as well just do one thing or the other. There's no need to get them to update both. So I think what I'm going to do is, I didn't think of this late last night whilst I was doing this, of course. What could I do to help to sort this out? I think, thinking. I think what I need to do is do some drastic changes here, I think. We're going to delete a lot of things and put them in manually, and then probably git ignore the config file, have this as a default as well. Yeah, okay, and then that would probably make sense, wouldn't it? It's a shame, really, because I wanted people just to put in build arguments on the fly, but I don't think it's going to work. I think for ease of use, we're just going to play around with, for ease of use, we're going to grab that, put that in there, and we're going to have config.xml, config.dist, like that, and then in the git ignore file, which is this one, we're going to have config.xml, and right, oops, I've gone and checked, that needs to be config.dist with the, there we go. So instead of changing the environment variables now, I'm going to deal with the config file. So that needs to go in to the config file, obviously hard-coded, like that. And in dist as well. Where are we? Team. It also simplifies the Docker image a bit as well, because I'm not having to do this sed command. Okay, so we will remove this, and we'll remove this. And this can live up here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just play around off stream for a second to get the variables up and running in config. So there's that, and then it's a shame, really. I mean, I was looking before the stream how you could get environment variables in an XML file, and oh my word, was that tricky? Was that tricky? So we're not going to worry about that. And then the pass key goes in as well. Of course, this changes all the things. And actually, I think, it changes the documentation. That's what I mean. Of course, this is actually, I think, in my opinion, probably the best way to do it as a whole, because it allows people the opportunity to change the config file themselves, rather than just, having it rebuilt on the fly in the Docker file. I didn't really like that when I was doing that. The GPU needs to be set to false, of course. And we're not folding anonymously, and we're going to set the CPU count to 3. Okay, so config.dist here. So yeah, bear with me whilst I do this. I do appreciate that you're just staring at a terminal window here. Okay, so this means that we no longer need these two. So we have config. So we don't have the env file. We don't have the env dist file. We have the config dist file and the config file. Config dist file is what we're going to use in the README. So up here, whoops, sorry, in there. We instead of env, we're going to do config.dist.xml to config. I think doing it as the environment variables was just trying to be a little bit too clever. Adjust the variables, that's fine. Adjust the variables in the config file, in the config.xml file, and then do the build, all of this stuff. This is all good. I mean, this is obviously taking it from the approach of the Docker Compose stuff, which we don't have. We no longer need to worry about this either, because once you've put it in the config, you put it in the config. So install manually without Docker Compose. That's a build run. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I mean, obviously, I need to test this, right? I need to actually go through and test this. So I'm just going to bring it down and just double check my config files a second. That looks good. Username's in there, team's in there, keys in there, power's in there, set to medium, GPU's in there, CPU's, and let's have a look at the dist. So with the dist, we're just going to put in like change username, I think, or change me. That would be good, wouldn't it? Change me, or the possible values. That's a good idea, isn't it? So this would be your underscore username, and then this would be your underscore passkey. The power can either be low, medium, or high, like that. GPU is, I think this is a true or this is a boolean. This is true or false. I mean, that's what I've seen in the documentation. True, false, rather than a count. And then this is like 1. This is an integer 1 or 2, and then ... So you can have 1 or 2 or whatever. So that kind of explains what kind of variables you need in here. And let's get rid of that as well. Okay. All right, so that was a bit of a change there. Go into the Docker file. So we've added those two, and then we're doing the installation. We haven't changed that, of course. Then we're running it. So okay, you're gonna have to bear with me again whilst I do a Docker. Well, let's go into the folding at home directory. We do Docker images. What I want to do is do a Docker R. Well, let's make sure that we don't have the container running. And I thought, do we have the container? Yes, we have the container running. Let's do an RM then of it's FAH test, isn't it? That's what I've called it. It's so tricky when this terminal's this small. There we go. And then an RMI. There we go. Cool. Okay, so now we've got a nice clean slate to work from. Good. So I can do a Docker compose, because I'm in compose mode, up -d -- build. Now this will build it. We're just going to do this as a tryout. Okay, so all of these need to be set. Yes, of course, because one file we haven't changed is this. They can go, because we don't have that. All right, let's do it again. There we go. It makes sense in my head. All right, that's all you need to know, is it makes sense in my head. Good. So we'll wait for this to build its stuff. So this is downloading the folding at home client. Off it goes. Good. We're going to do a Docker, so that it's now built, of course, so we can do a Docker compose logs -f/FAH, because that's the service. This is the configuration. You can see that that's the username's been updated here. Still saying no work units available for this config. So let's go and just double check the config is okay. So we can do Docker exec, not that, FAH. We'll get onto the PHP stuff in a minute. Okay, right. Sorry. We're now on the container for the folding at home. So FAH, that's that. ls, we should have config.xml. I'm just going to drag that down here. I just want to have a look at the config off stream. So I'm just going to type cat of config.xml. Looks okay. We have the power. The power is set to medium. We've got the CPUs. GPU is set to false. All the various other bits, teams in there. Good. Okay, so I'm just going to clear down the screen. Good. And bring that back into play. All right. Now, the important part to all of this is, of course, that we're now no longer using environment variables. We are just using a config file. Which, as I was doing that, my mind was thinking about other things that we can do. Because with the the FAH client, of course, what we can do is we could use, we can run, if I can remember where it lives, Can we do where is FAH client? The actual binary ETCFH client. That's not where it lives. I thought it was in var. Let's just hang on. Let's just try. It says it's here, and I don't believe it. No, of course it's not. It's not there. I thought it was in var. Run. Nope. No, of course it's etc init.d, isn't it? Because it's a service. FAH client. There we go. Right. Because if I went to, what I'm trying to do is trying to get to the documentation, the help file. If I went to configuration, command line options, sorry, scroll down here, we can see that this is FAH client configure. Hey Marco, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Yeah. FAH client. varlib. There we go. FAH client. FAH client hyphen help. There we go. So this is the help file for the FH client. So what I'm thinking is to actually bind mount the config file rather than have it added on the fly. This means that people can update the config file on the fly and then just go into the bash shell and tweak. Because here I think there's like a way to restart. So there must be. So that's configure. Linux command line options. Yeah, here we go. We can start, we can restart, we can run the configuration. So it can all be done through here. Yeah, so that's a possibility. Anywho, we've just gone through a massive sideline here. Exit. Okay. All right. So we've just built it. We have the config file. We've changed all of those things. It used to be using environment variables, but now we're using configuration files. So what we're going to do is we're going to build this, push this up to the Docker Hub again, and it should be good. Just have a look at the README file, adjust the variables in the config file. Yep, that's essentially all the change that needs to be made. Yeah, that's a good idea. Now, of course, we want to do this. We want to do this without. We want to do this without actually. We want to do this without actually pushing up the config.xml file, of course. So what I might do is, just for this attempt, I think what I'm going to do is just grab put in the docket ignore config dot prod.xml, and I'm just going to grab config and we're just going to copy that over to here, config.prod, because obviously we don't want to bake this into the image and then push this image up. And then we're going to grab the config.dist file and we're going to put that into config.xml. Yep, and we'll set that to be low, and that's false, I think. GPU value is false. So this is like an example. That's false. We'll set the CPUs to 1. And we'll set the username as anonymous, I think. Just bring that down here. Username. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. There we go. Oops. Put in the quote. There we go. Okay, so that's now the config file, which means that I can do docker RMI again. Oops, of the image that we've just created, which is docker RMI -f of that. Thank you. It's going to complain because there's something running, which is rm-f. Oops. There we go. And then RMI. It's already been... Whoa. I thought I just removed that. Oh, I didn't give it... Of course, I'm using it... Sorry, I'm doing it through Docker Compose, aren't I? So I can't do that. Docker Compose down. Down. There we go. Good. Getting myself into a little bit of a circular sort of state there. Sometimes when you're playing around with Docker and you get confused with Docker Compose, Docker, and then just the normal Docker commands, and you don't know if you've done it through Docker Compose, because if you've done it through Docker Compose, the service name gets changed. If you do it through Docker Run, you can change the name manually, and if you've done that forward and back a couple of times, it does get a little bit tricky. But I've just used Docker Compose to bring everything down, which means that I can do a Docker build again. Docker Compose build, and I'll build it all the way up. Up -d. Sorry, something's buzzing around here. What's that? Stop emailing me on the weekend. Okay, it's all good. Docker ps-a, good, that's running. Docker logs, because I haven't done that, I'm going to have to do it through Docker Compose, logs, there we go. It is going through. Good. So let's do a clear of that. Let's do a Docker images. That's the image that we've got here. So now I should be able to do a tag, tag, Pete, tag, come on, where the source is this, and we're going to run this like that again. Docker images, and I'm just going to do a Docker history of that tag, obviously. So 1.0.0. Okay, cool. That's all gone through. Let's do an no, is it no trunk? I'm sure it is no trunk. There we go. Okay, so I just want to have a look at some of these things. That looks good. Okay, so we're doing the installation here, and we are pushing up the config file like so. That's gone through. Okay, so if we did an exec, and if we did a cd, can you see this on stream? I don't think you can. Let's bring it up. cd to etc fah ls. Okay, let me just bring that down. I'm wait a minute. Let's just have a look. Cat of config. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Yeah, pretty impressed with that, to be honest. I think that does look good. One thing I want to do, though, just to be properly sure, is if there was a way I could push this up without a config file, that would make my life so much easier. And then have that bound sort of a bind mount into that. But the problem there is that you're relying on Docker Compose for that to happen, and I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, the people can go off and get the Git the GitHub changes anyway. So it's a question of it's kind of a question of do I get the do I bind mount it back and then tell everyone in the README file to then run Docker Compose? That's going to be a requirement, unfortunately. It isn't really something I wanted it to be honest, but hey. So if we were to do that, right, then what we could do is we could change the build context from instead of itself. So what I could do, of course, is create a build in here. So docker compose.dist, right? So this is running off of the dist distribution. And instead of build, we actually run an image. We get an image. So the image is how to code well /docker /folding at home, like that. Yeah, because that's going to pull it down from the Docker Hub, which is good. And then what we could do if you were to use Docker Compose like this is that you could bind mount the config.xml into etc fah client config.xml, like that. Yeah, so that would work from a Docker Compose perspective, and this would mean, of course, that there's no need to have the docker add command at this point. We do need to have the add command here, because unfortunately, for some reason, the FH client installation fails if there isn't that sample config. It doesn't seem to generate that on the fly. I mean, we could leave it in. There's no harm. It's going to be overwritten on build time. So we could do that. And in fact, we could also do the same thing if we were to do the volume here. This one here. We could do that on the compose the normal one. Essentially, what I'm thinking of doing is having the dist is my dist to actually run it against the Docker Hub, and this compose is the thing that I'm going to use to build it locally. Yeah. which means that I should be able to tamper with this on the fly, the config. I think I'm going to give that a go. So we're going to do exit on you. Come out of the container here. We're going to do a down Docker. Oops, reverse search of down. There we go. To no config.rm. That's okay. Sure. Docker ps -a Docker rmi rmf to this here, and then we're going to do a Docker RMI of that. .0.0. Whoops. Good. So I should now be able to do, if I was to change the config file. Give me a second. Let's change the. Yeah. All right. Let's change all those. So yeah, this is the config file here, because of course I put it in prod. That's okay. So anonymous, that's the team. Passcode. Fold anonymously, we're going to set to true. And the CPU count. That looks okay. So now we're going to do a Docker compose -f, and we're going to target the Docker compose file that we've just created, which is the dist file. So compose dot dist, right? And then we're going to do up -d -build. So this should, because we're running off of this here, it should now change the values of the config.xml file. Yeah, so, okay, what's going on here? So config.xml rewrite in named volume. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's not a named volume, is it? All right, so it's pulling it down from the Docker Hub, which is fine. But I want to make sure that we are now, after we've pulled it down, we are actually running it in an anonymous mode. And then, of course, what users can do is they can stop this, and then they can change the config, and then they can bring it up again, and it should change. So yeah, I think Docker Compose is probably going to be required for this project, which is a shame, but I think if I had a bit more time, I could probably play around with the variables a bit. Okay, so that's now built. Okay, it's now built, and if we did Docker Compose, again we have to use -f to go in with the this dist file, and if we did logs -f, and of course I've gone and totally forgotten what the log file path is. That would be in README, I think. Here we go. Yeah, of course, it's just the name of the container that you want to get the logs from. Silly me. Okay, so here we go. There we go. Look at that. It's actually building it. We've got so starting the client. That's really good. Completed one. So this is actually got itself a work unit. Okay, so this is what I was afraid of. This is saying that the device is busy. I was afraid that this wasn't going to allow me to actually bind mount it. We'll wait for this to hit another percentage. I'm hoping it will. And whilst that does happen, we will. What we're going to do is go back into the project, and we're going to go in as exec, and we'll just take a look at the config. So Docker, take out logs. It's exec-it going in as to fah as bash. All right, so it's still trying to. Oops, sorry, I've done that wrong, haven't I? Docker compose -f dist exec hyphen exec it exec. Oh, it doesn't have that, does it? No. All right. ls cd into etc fah ls config. So let's do a cat of config. Yes, it's got all the things that I wanted it to have. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So it's you're now running anonymously against that team. Yeah. This is worrying mine. Oh, we've gone up to a percentage, so that's okay. That's okay. I think it's because the system is reading the file, as in, I have the file open on the system here, and therefore it's saying that it's actually busy. So as this has gone up by a percentage, we're actually processing a work unit here. I'm actually quite happy with this. So, all right. Let's pedal back a bit and let's actually just see where we're at. So the problem at the moment with the images on the Docker Hub, they have baked in environment variables, which are proving problematic to change on the fly. Okay, so the reason, and because of that reason, what I did is I removed the environment variables and I changed them all to be in the config.xml file, which is fine. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm happy with the way that's going, we're going to come out of this shell. And we're going to come out of that one as well. And we'll just close that down. What I'm going to do is, if I was to do Docker history of whatever the image is called, it was done through Docker Compose, so it's going to be a different image name. I just want to inspect that, folding it home. And get hyphen no trunk, so don't truncate it. Trunk. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to briefly cast my eye over this. So that seems okay. It does it in reverse order. Yep, that looks good. Looks good to me. Okay, looks good to me. I was looking for things that are sort of hard coded in there, which shouldn't be in there. And also, if we did a if we did a bash and then typed out print env, so these are the environment variables. Okay. So yeah, power is low, username. It's because okay, yeah, that's okay, that's no problem. But that would be overwritten by the config file. Yeah, I think. What I don't get though is, I know that will be overwritten by the. Is it because the environment variables are already set in the .env? Am I in the directory of the .env file? Yes, I am. That's why. Okay. And the environment variables would have been set before. Okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So let's clear that down. Just getting myself in a bit of a tongue twister there. So, let's recap. This needs to be removed and replaced, I think. Yeah, because this is now running off of the old stuff. Sorry. The README needs to change because that's changed. Docker run. I don't think that's going to happen. Sorry, the install without Docker Compose. So, yeah, build and run the Docker container. Dist. So I think I will commit this. And I think maybe what I'll do actually is change this around. So I think this is going to be... I think what I'll do is I'll rename that to be just put in something here for a minute. That is going to be renamed to dist, because this is the file that I'm going to use to build the containers before they get pushed up. So Docker Compose dist. And then this will be just Docker Compose. So you can either pull it down from Docker Hub, or you could run this. So if you were to pull it down from the Docker Hub, you would need to set that as a variable, wouldn't you? As a volume. Gosh, it's raining really hard out there. Really hard. So, how would I put that in the documentation? Because now what you would do is Docker, let's do Docker Compose. And now I'm thinking, do I need that bind mount? I don't think I do. No, I do need that. Sorry. No, I do need that. Yep. So we would do Docker Compose down. We won't use RMI or V. And we will do, I should have used -v, but if we did Docker volume ls, and it's this one here, Docker volume volume rm of that. There we go. Okay, so what I need to do is, so someone's just pulled, imagine if you will, someone's just pulled this down from the Docker Hub. Okay, so they're not using Docker Compose. I'm trying to get around the fact that people might not want to use Docker Compose. So they've just pulled it down. The next thing they need to do is run it, but they need to run it with these volumes. That's what they need to do. So if we did Docker run --help, they would run it with the volumes list, bind mount a volume. So if we type this out, let's type this out in the README. So it will be Docker run, give it a name, -d, that's the image. We also need to do -v. -v needs to have this. Volume driver, volumes from list, mount volumes from the specified containers. Change the working directory, no. Docker volume. So, okay, so V is a bind mount. Just having a look at the documentation because I know they've changed this. Originally, the V or volume flag was used as standalone containers, and the -- mount flag was used for swarm services. However, starting Docker 17.6, you can now use the mount with standalone containers in general. Okay, consists of 3 fields separated by a colon. The fields must be in the correct order, blah, 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 blah. Okay, mount consists of multiple key value pairs, so let's have a look at an example. That's the dist, and then this here is the name. So the differences between, as opposed to bind mounts, all options for the volumes are available for the mount and -v flags. When using volumes with services, mount is supported. Creating, managing volumes. So, do I need? Yes, I'm going to need to do that, aren't I? So it will be a Docker. So the first thing someone would do is create a volume, and then they would need to do mount of that volume based on the target. Yeah, this is going to get a little bit hairy. But what they would need to do, if we scrolled up, essentially what they need to do is they need to create this volume, all right? So it would be Docker, because this is the volume that you would have the work units would be stored in. So Docker volume create Docker volume. I'm just having a look, keeping tabs on the Docker on the documentation. So create, and of course we can call this whatever we want to. So this could be FAH, for instance. However, going back to the compose file, we need to also so this would be a mount and this would be a bind mount. They're quite different. Okay, so this would replace the FAH client. So this would be FAH client like that. So we've just created that. Okay, so that's the first thing one would need to do. So we're just going to put this in the documentation. Which is, where are we? Documentate README. Here we go. Okay, so we've created the FH client. We're just going to put in some comments. So create volume for work units. Okay, good. So the next thing we need to do is attach that volume. So that's created. So if I did Docker volume ls, we should see it created there, which it is. Okay. Of course, we can inspect it if we want and remove it if needed, but we don't need to do that. What we need to do though is in here where we've got Docker run -v, that needs to be changed to --mount, --mount, like so, and we pass in a source which is equal to the source which we've just created, which would, in this case would be FH client, and the destination is, or the target, I should say, target, there we go, target, is equal to whatever is in the compose file, which is this, like so. Okay. So that's our first mount point. All right. So that's the first thing. Ow. You could shorthand this with -v, of course. Maybe I should do that. Yeah, maybe I should do that. So that, in this case, would be -v, and it would just be FH client that we've just created to that. That looks sensible. That looks sensible. So that's what's called a named volume, right? We also need to bind mount. We also need to do a bind mount based on the config here. So how does one get around that? We would also put in a -v here, and we would do, I think we would do config, .xml, and that would be in here. No, here. Okay. All right. So the first thing we do is we create a named a named Docker volume called FAH client, which we've just created like so. So this means that we can persist our working units that we're working on for folding at home in there. Hopefully, if this works. And then the next one is when we're doing an actual bind mount. We're mounting a file now from the host machine to this here, and then fh test -d is detached mode, and then that's the name of the image, of course. So I just want to see if this what happens when this happens. What happens when this happens? Let me just check. We've got the Docker volume running, and if we did docker ps-a, we shouldn't have that anymore. And if we did docker ps or docker images, oh, sorry, no, you can't. Beg your pardon. Sorry. I will. It's because I've got too many windows open. Let me adjust that. Sorry. Thank you for letting me know, IPO. I do appreciate that. So I'll just quickly recap for those that didn't see. So it's terribly small. This is the well, you'll be able to see it a little bit better when it's in the terminal, I think. So we've just downloaded this one. Yeah. However, I'm assuming that it's been pushed, and it hasn't been pushed. So I might have to I'm gonna have to change the repo name, aren't I, to be that. Yeah. Okay, so create config includes invalid characters for local volume name. So a dot is allowed, but a slash isn't. So could I therefore get away with that? Of course, I might have to use pwd, which is print working directory. Yeah, I think I'm going to need to do that. Which would be this one here. Okay, so error response from daemon source is not a directory. I think what I need to do, yeah. I can't put in a dot at the start, and that's going to go back to root. So I think what I need to do is print working directory like that. There we go, it's up. Okay, so the container is up. And if I was to do docker, and I've named it, I think, FAH test. So if I did docker exec -it fh test bash, it's not, so it's up, but it's, hang on, oh. Okay, so there's a problem. It fh bash. let's just have a look at the logs. So Docker logs. Starting client fail. I wonder if it's because I need to give it a command to run if I'm doing it like this, because all I've done is pulled the image. Because the documentation, of course, suggests that, or says, doesn't suggest, tells you, where are we? To run, to do a client start. However, having that error saying that it's failed kind of means that it has tried to, it's starting and then failed. So, okay, so let's before we panic, let's do a Docker inspect of FAH test and see how it's been set up. Okay, so this is the command that runs. That's fine. That's all good. I want to have a look at my volumes. So that's the network settings. This is the config. Mounts. Here we go. So we've created the mount FAH client, and that is the destination is var lib FH client. That's fine. This here is a bind mount, and it's going user. That's the address. Folding at home config.xml. And it's going into etc fh client config.xml. That to me looks fine as well. FH client config etc fh, yeah. The source fh client, yeah. var lib fh client. Okay, so I can get this to work through Docker Compose. I can't get this to work just running the container. Is it in a constant flux of restarting? If we did Docker ps-a, is it? No, it's just ended. All right, let's get rid of it. Docker rm -f. There we go. And that's the command I ran. Docker run -v. That's the named volume fh client var lib fh client, and then another -v. That's the print current working directory config.xml to etc fh client config.xml. Running against the name -d. That is the container, or the image that we're running from. Okay. Oh, hang on a minute. You just saw me do that, right? That has now gone through. So yeah, I think this is I think this is it. Let's copy that. Put that into the logs. The documentation. So that would be Docker run -v fh client, fine. pwd fh client config, that's fine. Okay, so this would be how to code well / folding at home. Okay, good. Save. Okay. All right. Let's tail it. -F. Okay, so that's okay. Saying that there's no work units available. Switching user to FH client, that's okay. That's good. Right. So, I think I'm happy now to push this up again. Because everybody's configuration will be different. Yeah. As long as I've got in here, change the dist.xml file, which is this one, to your own, and then either run docker compose up -d -build, or run this these commands. So we'll just do run container. Then it should be good. Now, it doesn't work here because I've got default values in, which is fine. And I think if I went to bash and had a look at it, I should be able to. I am running this as FH test, yeah. I should be able to go to cd etc fah client, do an ls, and do a cat of config. Yeah. So that is the default configuration. So let's say, for instance, let's test this out. Let's say, for instance, I want to change this to be something called foobar. Okay, and change this to running on medium rather than low for the power consumption, and have this set to 3 for CPUs. If I came out of this and then did well, it'll have to be a Docker, Docker RM FH tests to bring that container down. If we were to bring it back up again, but now using the other configuration rules, and then go into bash, and then etc. All right, give me a second. Whoops. Give me a second whilst I take a look at this. I just want to make sure if I'm in the wrong place. Yes, so there we go. Now this container now has, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't in there, foobar and medium, and 3. Okay, so I've just changed that on the fly. So if we did exit on this and then did docker logs of that, we can now see, that they have been changed correctly in the configuration. That's good. That's essentially what I wanted to do with the environment variables, of course, but such as life. So we'll drag it back to what it was, which is good. That needs to be set to true, I believe. And then what we'll do is so config prod is my configuration. Everybody will have their different configuration, but as long as they copy dist, which means that I could probably remove config. However, I do need to build it. Don't I? Config. Yeah, I do need to build it, so we will need to do that. Yeah, but because I know that you can rebuild your config file and then spin the container up with your own changes, that's fine. That's good. Okay, that's good. So, what I'm going to do now, after that crazy little couple of hours going backwards and forwards, I think what I'm going to do, I think this is in a decent place to now commit all of this work. So removing variables and using config .xml. Okay. Do we need the config up there? Yeah, that's fine. Config.dist. Config.dist. That's still okay to have up. That's fine. And the Docker Compose file, that's okay. Yeah. So on the README file here, install manually without Docker Compose, create the volume for work units, Docker volume create, run the container. Okay. We're going to put the uninstallation process. Well, no, we'll leave that there. That's fine. And then here, so that's fine. Bash cp dist, that's good. Build the Docker containers, and because we're doing it on the default Docker Compose file, this is going to be used, which is fine. Which will pull it from the Docker Hub, which is fine, which is what we want to do. Alternatively, you can run the container like this, install manually. So I'm also going to put in here monitor the logs. Like that. So this is now, instead of Docker Compose, it's now Docker logs -f of the name of the container that you've created. In fact, I'm going to change the name to just be FAH, to be the same name as the service. It makes sense. Which makes sense. FAH. Okay, FAH. Yeah, that's good. So there's a level of consistency there that I like. Let me just see, how does this look? Yeah, I don't think it's too overly complicated. I hope not. I'm sure someone will say. Good. Good, okay. Updating README. All right, then the next thing we need to do here is, of course, change or copy all of that, go over to, where are we? Not there. Where did it go? I'm looking for the Docker Hub. Where did that go? Did I just get rid of it? No. Here we go. So we need to go into here and we manage repository. And we need to change this now. So we're going to just edit this manually for now. Paste that in. That gets updated. And then what we're going to do is tag and build Docker images. We're going to do a Docker RMI -f of this one. We're going to do a Docker ps-a to make sure that we have this. So rm-f of FH8 test. Okay, Docker ps-a. Wonderful. And what I'm going to try and do, I don't know if I can do this. I'm going to see if I can delete. Am I able to do that? What does that mean when I've ticked that? Action delete. There we go. Bye. Good. Okay, so we've now deleted the Docker images from the Docker Hub. Because what I would like to do, Docker ps-a. No, sorry, Docker images, beg your pardon. This is the one that we want to be playing with now, because this is the updated version. So we want to do Docker images. Sorry, not Docker image, Docker tag, beg your pardon. We want to tag it as 1.0, which it is, and we also want to tag it as latest. which it is. So if we did Docker images now, we should have 3 Docker images, all of the same, but this one's tagged as 1.00. This one is latest, and this is the one that we're using internally. So we should now be able to do Docker push of that one. And then we'll do a push of the other one. Ba, 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 ba. So just to recap, just to let you know what it is that I'm doing. So the Folding at Home is a distributed computing network where Stanford University they send out work units to the distributed systems, to your computer, to the client, and your client uses spare CPU cycles to crunch and analyze and to process and fold, I guess, the work that they've supplied. Now, the work that they supplied are proteins from diseases, including COVID-19. Which is very topical right now, obviously. So what we've done is we've created a team, a How to Code Well team. And the team number, I will find that for you, is 236997. 236977. So if you are running Folding at Home, then please consider joining the team. Or if you haven't before, then please do consider getting the client, entering in the ID. Now, you don't have to use Docker. Okay, I'm just using Docker because, as a web developer, I have access to a lot of web servers that I own, and I would like to run Folding at Home on those machines through this Docker thing. So if you want to use it, fair enough, go for it. If you don't, that's fine. If you don't want to use it though, check out the actual client. So this is the client that's running on the Mac, the thing that I'm streaming on at the moment, and you can download that from the Folding at Home site here. So where we've got Start Folding, you download whatever you want. If that's the Mac version, there's other versions as well. So alternative versions down here. You've got Windows as well, and then you've got the various things for Mint, Ubuntu, Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS, and so on. So you download that. It brings you up with a client like this, and then in configuration, you put in your username, and then the team number. Now the team number is the number that I've just put in the chat there. So the idea is that with the team, you get sort of ranked by how much work that you can you work through, and obviously the faster, the best. The quicker your system, the more CPUs cycles it can throw at it, and GPUs as well. The higher you go up in the rank. So there's a little bit of competition there, which is nice bit of friendly competition, which is good. And of course, there's a couple of us on the just reading the chat there, documentation. There's a couple of us on here already, so do check that out. There's also a conversation on the Discord server too, if you want to join in about configuring it and stuff like that. So that's in the community channel. So that is on here, Discord. Okay, so this is all good. That's gone up, and we'll push this again with 1.0.0. And then we'll do the final test. The final test is to do Docker. Is to bring all the containers down, delete the image, and then pull it from the Docker hub, and then put my configuration in, and then that should be changed, right? That should be changed when we run it. So I'm going to do Docker images once more. Sorry, not images. Docker ps-a. I think I've removed it. I have Docker images. We're going to do a Docker RMI -f, and we're going to grab the IDs of these things. Okay, Docker image. Something's come up and said that it can't be found. So Docker images once more. Okay, Docker. So the next thing then is to follow the instructions to make sure that the instructions make sense. So we're going to go over to the Docker Hub, which is not that tab. It is this tab here. If we refresh the page, oops, no, sorry, go back. We should now have the two tags like so. And you can see the history, which is good. So there's no environment variables now. It's all good. Good. Folding at home. Okay, cool. So the way you would download this, therefore, right, if you wanted to use this image, is you would pull it down. Well, there's two ways. You would either pull it down or you would use Docker Compose. We'll do the pulling it down first. So we'll pull it down like this. And I think I need to push this up to master, I believe. Yep, whilst that's happening. So this is now pulling the image that we just pushed up to the Docker Hub. It's good to do this because this is now the proof of concept. All right, so someone's just pulled it down, and then what they do is they change the dist to config, and then they can either install it through Docker Compose, or if they want to do it manually, which is what we're going to try out now, is we do a Docker. First of all, we need to clean up our environment. So we need to get rid of that volume that we created before. So we do Docker RM FH client. Docker volume RM FH client. And we need that. I don't know why that's gone in. We need to tidy that up. I think that's a legacy thing. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so now what we do is we create that volume. Okay, and then we run this. Excellent. Okay, good. So now we can do Docker logs of FH test. Well, I've changed it to FH. And there we go. That is the proof of concept, which is excellent. Yeah. Docker volume. Yep. So that was. So, thank you. So obviously my configuration needs to be adjusted, right? So I was just checking that, but that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Let's now see if we can do this, but this time using Docker Compose. All right. So again, what I'm going to do, Docker ps-a. We're going to get rid of the container, Docker RM -f of FAH. And then we're going to do a Docker RMI of that. Now what we're going to do, let's say we've just pulled this down from the GitHub repo, and we've tinkered with our config file. What we do is let's follow the documentation. We do docker compose up -- build. Okay, so now it's creating the network. It's now pulling it from How to Code Well, folding at home, which is, so we're now re-downloading that image again. Do. Good. Okay, so that's now downloaded and it seems okay. So we can now do Docker. Well, let's follow the documentation. To get the logs, we would do this. Yep, logs are looking good. Logs are looking good. So yeah, that's good. And then this would be to stop the container. Yep, that works. And then this would be the uninstallation script. There we go. We now have our own folding at home client for How to Code Well. I am super happy with that. Super duper happy with that. I didn't realize it was going to take this long. So apologies for not doing any PHP work today. It's been purely Docker. And there was a bit in the middle where I was getting myself stuck with variables and other things like that. I'll probably look back on this stream and cringe. But we've got there in the end, and that is, at the end of the day, the most important thing, right? We have got there in the end. So one last time, this is the Docker image. This is the Docker image, Docker Hub, and also I will find the URL if I can get it for the GitHub repository. And if I refresh that, that should now all be different. Yes. GitHub. So there we go. That is that. Okay, so we now have that. If anybody finds any bugs, any issues with this, then please do let me know. Put in some pull requests if you want as well. It's fine. But I do strongly advise people, if they can spare some CPU GPU cycles, then to download either the client from Folding at Home or use this Docker container that I've created, because Folding at Home is now, since March the 10th, working on viruses that cause Covid-19. All right, so this is a big thing. The initial wave of projects focuses on better understanding the coronaviruses and how they interact with the human ACE2 receptor. Now, I have no idea what this is, because I'm not a scientist, and I don't have a clue in that kind of field of study. However, if I'm building a website and like the Mac Mini behind me is a beefy machine. It's a beefy machine. My laptop and my iMac are the beefy machines. Half the time, I'm not using them to the full potential. So if I can if I can do things to help this cause, then it's fantastic. So I'll put this in the chat as well. This is the link to that article that we're seeing here, and also I will put in the the link to actually getting the client, because I would imagine a lot of people will be using the client over this Docker thing. This is the Docker container that I've just created, the Docker image here. It's purely for my benefit, really. And if anybody wants to use it, then feel free to. It's just because, I've got the podcast website, I've got the How to Code Well main site, and I've got a whole bunch of other websites that are running on beefy servers that, are just sat idle for most of the time, just managing web requests. So they could do with thrashing about. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Thank you all for following on, and I hope it hasn't been overly confusing. I was struggling in the middle of this with some issues with Docker and trying to remember commands. It's a bit difficult when you're doing it live. I'm going to get off and grab my dinner, but I will see you all again on Tuesday, 7 a.m. Thank you ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everyone, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye.